Some draft classes change franchises. A few change eras. The 2025 rookies already feel like the kind of group that can do both. They're adding new identities to teams and forcing coaches to rethink lineups. We'll run through 9 of the top names, what each player brings right now, and how they should keep growing. Dallas used the number 1 pick on Flagg because he flips the defensive blueprint. Length, anticipation, and switchability. Early in the season, the Mavericks have looked more flexible, able to guard pick and rolls and contest closeouts in a way they couldn't have last year, and Flagg is a big reason for that shift. At Duke, he was the two-way freshman who dictated matchups, and that same presence is already easing Dallas's rotations. Offense isn't his only value. His ability to find cutters and finish in transition opens things for the vets. The obvious next steps are adding strength and developing a reliable off-dribble shot, so defenses can't sag on him. If he adds those layers, Dallas will have the defensive core and a young playmaker to build around for years. He's already showing the temperament of a franchise cornerstone, and that's rare for a rookie. San Antonio drafted Dylan Harper high because they wanted someone who organizes the game from the wing. The Spurs have started the season feeling more patient and coordinated with Harper available. His play eases ball pressure and keeps the offense clean. At Rutgers, he handled late-game responsibility and learned to make tough reads under pressure, traits that immediately translate. He's not a lightning bolt scorer. He's the guard who makes the right play and lets others breathe. The focus now is physical seasoning and improved on-ball defense, so he can stay in switches without getting exposed. As he grows, Harper could become that dependable closer the Spurs have lacked in recent years. His maturity on and off the court gives San Antonio a steadying presence for the long rebuild. Edgecombe arrived in Philly to inject speed and chaos, the type of player who turns defensive plays into instant offense. The Sixers have shown early sparks of faster transition basketball, and Edgecombe's burst is a big part of why possessions feel more electric. Coming out of Baylor, he was the athlete who could score every way. In college, he was the guy who could carry a team when needed and also finish off ball. Now Philadelphia is scheming to get him downhill and let him terrorize closeouts. The next step is cleaning up his shot selection and ball security, so his electric moments become consistent weapons rather than flashes. If he does that, Philly has a high upside engine they can build around for the next decade. Charlotte picked Kon Knueppel because he brings spacing and basketball IQ that smooths out rookie rotations. The Hornets have started with a more consistent offensive flow when he's on the floor. He moves well without the ball and opens driving lanes for primary creators. At Duke, he showed uncanny timing and the kind of catch-and-shoot rhythm pro teams covet. He doesn't need volume touches to be valuable, which makes him a perfect fit on a veteran-friendly offense. Now it's about expanding his toolkit into selective on-ball creation and a few more playmaking reps. If he does that, Kon Knueppel becomes a stable, high-floor starter who makes everyone around him better. For Charlotte, that kind of reliable spacing is a huge long-term win. Utah used the top pick on Bailey for his two-way toughness, someone who hunts shots and initiates pressure defense first. The Jazz have looked harder to play against early in the season because Bailey brings physicality at the perimeter and isn't afraid to guard the best wings. At Rutgers, he was the kind of player who set the tone physically and made opponents uncomfortable. That nastiness is paying dividends in the pros. Offense will come. He already has the toolkit, but the immediate value is the way he changes matchups and energizes rotations. Long term, adding consistent perimeter shooting and more playmaking range will push him from glue piece to go-to option. Utah believes he can be the emotional engine for their next competitive window, and the early signs give them reason to feel that way. Tre Johnson was picked because scoring is his language, and Washington needed a translator. The Wizards have started the season with a clear scoring identity on nights he plays, thanks to Johnson's knack for creating space and making big plays when possessions matter. At Texas, he was the offensive centerpiece, patient, crafty, and unfazed in pressure moments. That translates to the NBA when the team asks him to take heat off the other young pieces. For Johnson, the growth plan is simple. Add strength, expand playmaking under duress, and keep improving his ability to finish through contact. Do that, and he becomes Washington's primary offensive engine. Right now, he's already delivering on that one promise he was drafted for. He brings dependable scoring to a franchise rebuilding its identity. Jeremiah Fears brings a controlling rhythm to New Orleans' backcourt, and the Pelicans have leaned on that poise during their early season grind. He soothes rotations when things get frantic, and gives the bench a field player who can extend leads or calm a run. At Oklahoma, he showed comfort managing tempo and taking over short bursts, skills that are rare and valuable as a rookie. The Pelicans aren't forcing him into hero ball. They're letting his decision-making shape second unit looks. Going forward, adding strength and tightening defensive footwork will enlarge his role in late-game lineups. If he nails those details, Fears becomes the kind of reliable two-way guard coaches trust with closed minutes. His natural control already makes New Orleans' offense more balanced. Derik Queen's arrival gives the Pelicans a new schematic option, a big who facilitates from the high post and unpacks defenses. Early season lineups have shown smoother ball movement when Queen is on the floor. He reads gaps, finds skip passes, and unlocks space for shooters. At Maryland, that playmaking for a big was his signature. He made others better just by existing in the action. New Orleans is using him to diversify sets and create easier action for their wings. Developmentally, it's about adding NBA strength and extending shooting range so teams can't sag and clog passing lanes. Hit those steps, and Queen becomes a rare frontcourt creator who changes how opponents guard the Pelicans. He's already giving the team a new dimension offensively, and that matters. Charlotte added Kalkbrenner late in the draft for floor stabilization, a rim protector, and efficient finisher. The Hornets have enjoyed a steadier defensive spine on nights he plays because he cleans up the paint and helps control second chance points. At Creighton, he was that reliable interior force, not flashy, but fundamentally sound and extremely efficient. In the NBA, the role is the same. Anchor the defense, finish high percentage looks, and let the guards sprint in transition. The roadmap is adding lateral mobility and a little more speed so he can survive switch-heavy lineups. If he makes those small leaps, he becomes the defensive backbone the Hornets can lean on for seasons. Right now, he's quietly giving them the kind of baseline reliability that every young team needs. This class is already changing rotations and identities across the league, and that's what separates a memorable draft from a historic one. The big question isn't whether they can play now, it's how many of them become the foundational stars teams build around. If a good chunk hit their ceiling, the 2025 draft will go down as one of the era-defining classes, and the craziest part, we're only at the beginning. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.